Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Well, we've just had a good time this week, haven't we, studying Psalm 106. What a beautiful psalm. It's an important psalm, and it's a psalm of exhortation because this psalm warns us. It warns us about forgetting all that God has done. So we had 105, which was an exposition on the goodness of God, and it was an admonition to remember all that he had done. And now 106 is an exhortation, also expositionally, an exhortation on what happens when we forget. And it's a warning not to forget. So we've seen all that's happened. Again, he's going through the experience of the children of Israel in their release from Egypt and then their wandering in the desert. He did that last time too in 105. In 105, he went through the patriarchs, Joseph, Moses, the signs, the Exodus, and how God blessed them as they went into the land. Now he's taken a different tack, and he's looking at the very same things. He's looking at the signs in Egypt, and he's looking now at their release, but all the while they're forgetting. They don't remember. They remembered not in verse 7. They believed not in verse 12. They soon forgot his works in verse 13. Yesterday, we talked about verses 14 and 15 along in that passage. And I forgot to mention how verse 14 mirrors Psalm 105:40, you can see the difference between the two. In verse 40 of Psalm 105, he says that they asked, and God gave them quail. Let me go back and read that. I'm going to misquote that. Sure shooting. Hold on just a second. The people asked, and he brought quails, satisfied them with the bread of heaven. Okay, you hear the verbiage there. They asked, God brought. Here it says in verse 14, but lusted exceedingly and tempted God in the desert. And it's the very same thing. Both of these depend on Exodus 16. Last week in verse 40, it was Exodus 16:11. This week it's Exodus 16:2 and 3. So you see, this verse 14 is really sort of it highlights the difference between these two psalms. Okay, now they forgot, we're going to read today 16 through 20. They envied Moses also in the camp, and Aaron the saint of the Lord. The earth opened and swallowed up Dathan, covered the company of Abiram. And a fire was kindled in their company, and a flame burned up the wicked. They made a calf in Horeb, and worshipped the molten image. Thus they changed their glory into the similitude of an ox that eats grass. Notice, they envied Moses. We know about that, don't we, from Numbers chapter 16. Dathan and his company, that's in Numbers 16. The fire was kindled, the flame burned up the wicked. A calf in Horeb, that's Exodus 32, 1 through 6. Of course, it doesn't mention Aaron's role in that, does it? And it says they changed their glory. Thus they changed their glory. What was their glory? The Lord. The Lord God was their glory. They gloried in him, but they changed it into the similitude of an ox that eats grass. Now this comes over into the New Testament in Romans chapter 1. Here is the root of evil. When we change our glory into something like an ox or an ass or a man or something that flies in the heaven or creeps on the ground, anytime we make an idol of anything, it changes our glory, that is, the glory of our God, our Creator, into something that is less than. And so because of that, all kinds of bad things spring out of that. And we see in Romans chapter 1, homosexuality is one of those things, and a reprobate mind is one of those things. So there's a whole lot there in Romans 1, 23 through the end of the chapter, where it talks about changing the glory into something less than and worshiping that, and then all the bad stuff comes, which is what is happening here. Don't forget. Do not forget. Do not forget what God has done, because if you do, these things happen. Okay, Going to come back tomorrow and look at verses 21 through 24 here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.